Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here. Today we're having a look at something pretty special. Now it might just look like your normal Wrangler Rubicon, but this is the beast, the 392 with the 6.4 liter V8 right there under the hood. So what we're gonna do in this video is, of course, we need to talk about the design because they did refresh the Wrangler in general for 2024. Some changes in the front end with the grille and some small details, but the big changes happens in the interior. So we're gonna have a look at that as well, talk about the front, side, rear, interior, and then we're of course gonna take this for a drive. But before we do that, let's have a look under the hood here and what's hiding under here. So we do have a 6.4 liter Hemi V8 pumping out 475 horsepower in a Wrangler and 470 pound-feet of torque in 0 to 60. Did you ever believe, did you ever hear a Wrangler coming straight from the factory and doing 0 to 60 in 4 seconds? Well, that's what this beast can do, which is pretty nuts, specifically with these wheels and tire setup that we have here. It's connected to an 8-speed automatic, and of course you do have 4-wheel drive with the front and rear lockers. You also have a disconnecting front sway bar for further improve the articulation in the front end. What I don't like about this Wrangler Rubicon 392 is the fuel economy. So I've been driving this for about a week now, and I'm averaging around 14 miles per gallon. But when you think about it, this package, again, with these 35 wheels, 35-inch tires, and the overall package pretty boxy, I don't think that's too unexpected to hear 14 miles per gallon as your average number. And then you have the pricing. So this is finished in a color that is called Earl Clear Coat, and I absolutely love it because it has this flat cement looking color. There's no metallic flakes in this paint, and I do think it suits this truck. The pricing overall, as this one is spec'd, comes in at $96,000. So $96,000 for a Jeep Wrangler, but I do think it is such a special vehicle that it kind of justifies the price, even though it is very expensive. And I do love the spec overall. We're gonna have a closer look at the interior, but we have the red and black interior with the red stitching going on here with this Earl Clear Coat color. It's just a fantastic looking Jeep. So what we're gonna do in this video, as I said, we're gonna talk about the design. So let's start with the front end and let's close down the hood. So looking at this front end design, what's new for 2024 is specifically the grille. So we have these black pieces now going into the headlights, as you can see. So it's called part of this round circle that we have housing the headlight unit, and then the black piece goes on in the lower section. Before, this used to be body color, so you only had the 7 slots here in the middle and the body color piece down here. I actually really liked what they did here in the facelift for the 2024 model year. I think it looks great. And further down, you do have this steel solid bumper in the front end and with the bronze hooks, which is specific for the 392. So if you see our Jeep with the bronze hooks, that means that you're looking at the 6.4 liter 392. You also have the fog lights integrated here. I'm glad that they didn't cover this up, for example, with some plastic piece. Just left it open like it is. It makes for this industrial, functional vibe that you get with Jeep. So you can see that this entire piece right here is also completely open, with the bumper almost hanging out by itself down there, which creates, of course, a great approach angle because you can see so much of the front tire, and that is the first thing that is going to hit any sort of obstacle when you go off-road. And this is also equipped with the winch. So this is a factory option that you can get, and this I believe is $2,000, $1,995 or something like that. And I do believe that's a cool option to have because it feels like it's meant to sit in here, and it obviously it is, and it feels like a pretty rugged piece and a useful part when you're going seriously off-roading. It's good to have a winch like that. One detail I do love that they updated for, I believe it was the 2021 model year, is that now we have the LED indicators being integrated right here in the front fender. I think this is a fantastic idea. You also have the daytime run lights integrated here with the LED circle that you have going around the headlights, creating a very strong identity for the front end of the Wrangler. And that detail, this one right here that they did in 2020, this is one of these small details that I think make a huge difference in modernizing the front end design of the Jeep. You also have the front mounted camera with the washer. So here you have the little washer piece for the front mounted camera located right here. And up top, we have a very specific hood for the 392. First of all, I do love that we have a specific added piece onto the hood, which says 392 right here with the bronze accents going around it and the black interior. And last but not least, up top, the hood, you do have this very functional air intake, which is going to funnel cool air into the engine. You can take this into 3 feet of water without damage or getting any sort of water into the engine bay itself, which is pretty fantastic coming from factory like that. So moving around to the side view, and what I love about Jeeps, specifically the Wrangler, is that they stick to their core identity, and that core identity is all about having it be functional and rugged and look industrial and have that quality off-road vibe to the overall design, and that is definitely what's going on here. I do love these fenders that we have, and also this line. I kind of wish that this was functional so we could have some sort of air outlet here or air vent, but this is just a plastic piece that sits here, but it sits nicely within this chamfer piece. And then you have the trail rated 4x4 logo right here, also in this bronze, and you have the bronze outline on the Rubicon letters on the side. Further down, you do have another Jeep badge with the Wrangler and the US flag right there, looking nice. And of course, this being a Wrangler, you can disassemble this whole car, essentially take off the doors and whatever you want, turn the hazards off so we don't have the clicking noise. And then we have this line. So we do have sort of a shoulder line, bringing back some memories from the original Willys, and that is this line that goes underneath the side mirror and then continues all the way back here into the rear end. And you also have this big fender in the rear, almost a double fender to prevent the rock chips and stuff flying off these big 35-inch tires. You need to have this piece that is just a regulation that you need to cover the wheels, and the side of the wheel need to be within the body of the car itself, and that's why I added those onto the Wrangler. Now, talking about the wheels and tires, so these are beadlock capable wheels. They're 17 inches, and I do love the design of these wheels. They look fantastic. 17 is the exact right amount of tire wheel size that I want to have on a Wrangler like this with the 35-inch tires. You have the old Willys logo right there in the center, looking nice. So these are 35-inch tires, and they're 315 millimeter wide. So they are proper beefy off-road tires, and I think they look just right with having 35s. I think 35s is the exactly correct size that I personally want to have on a Wrangler. I don't want to have bigger, I don't want to have smaller. 35 just looks right proportionally. So coming around to the back, you have these new taillights for 2021 as well, sticking out a little bit here from the rest of the body. Again, looking like an additional piece and looking pretty old school to me. You do have a full spare wheel and tire setup in the back with the rear mounted camera located right here in the middle. And these hinges, they need to be properly built or built in, because this weight has to be really heavy since we have the full 35-inch tire hanging on the back. But then you have this sticker in the back too, so you can read a little bit about the dimensions of your Rubicon 392. And you also have, this is metal, and I really like that. It feels quality. You also have the same bronze finish on this graphic like we have all over this Jeep. So it comes together nicely here in the back. Again, very, very functional rear end. And just like we have in the front end, we do have a proper steel bumper in the lower section with the parking sensors integrated all across the length of it. Now, this being a 6.4-liter V8, you do need to have a proper exhaust system. And you can see that we have quad tailpipes for the 392, and I think it looks so good, and it sounds even better. And this is an active system, so you can turn the noise off, make it a little quieter. But personally, I think I've maybe made it quiet one time, but I like to drive around with them completely open, because you know, if you have a 6.4-liter V8, you want to make it breathe properly and make the right noises. So let's listen to what it sounds like with the exhaust open and the exhaust closed. There is quite a big difference between the two settings. So we talked about the exterior of this beautiful 2024 Wrangler Rubicon 392, and now it's time to have a look at the interior because there are some big changes going on there as well for the 2024 model year. All right, so let's jump in and have a look at this stunning interior of this specific 392. I do like the red leather that we have in here. I'm going to give you an overview first of all, so you can see, maybe you can spot exactly what is new for the 2024 model year. And I also like, so have a look at this. Let's jump in. I'm going to show you a detail that I normally don't like, but I love in this Wrangler, and that is this full panoramic roof that you have going all the way back. Now, normally I always keep this closed, but in this case, I do think this is such a cool idea to have it almost be like a convertible. And then imagine if you take the doors off, it's gonna feel like you're just driving around on a chassis of a Wrangler, which is fantastic. So let's fire this up. And let's, this is the exhaust button, so I'm not sure I'm gonna keep that on right now, but idling is fine, so I'm gonna keep that on for now. So the new thing here in the 2024 is that we do have this big new integration of the infotainment screen, and have a look at how beautifully integrated this is in the overall interior. This is a 12.3 inch, and I don't see any reason why you would need a bigger screen than this. This is just enough. This is almost too big for me. So 12.3 and have it be this well integrated in the dash, I think is just a fantastic feature to have, and a great update by Jeep to implement this new Uconnect 5 system that we have in this 12.3. We have a bunch of different settings here, accessory gauges, for example. We can see all these data points. You have pitch and roll, and then you have the forward mounted camera with the trajectory lines. Fantastic when you go off-road, and if you want to click on the rear view camera, you can do that as well. And if we look here, it looks like the rear view camera and the front camera are two different camera qualities, because the rear view has a lot clearer resolution, and you also have the Jeep logo here. It would be cool to have a full panoramic view of both these cameras taking up the entire field here. So then you have vehicle dynamics. Here you can see if you have the front or the rear lock on, and also if you have the sway bar connected or disconnected. You can see that everything is unlocked right now and the sway bar is connected, and you also have the steering angle right there. So pretty cool off-road features in this setting. Here you have the cameras again. You can go into further settings, you know, safety, driver assist and stuff like that. You can fiddle around with that here if you want to. Going into comfort, if you want to, you can change the AC and the climate controls settings right here in the display itself. But the good news is that you also have sturdy quality physical dials and buttons for the climate control settings down here, as you can see. So let's move down to that. Before we do that, let's have a look at the vents situated right here underneath this screen. And I do love the entire integration of this dash with the analog gauges, a small little screen in the middle, which we're going to talk more about in just a second, and how this then folds in and creates the framing for the infotainment screen. It's just a simple solution, but it's also a lot easier to integrate stuff like this when you have this industrial geometric feel and not so fluid organic lines in the interior. So moving further down, here you can see we have the volume knob being rubberized, and I do love that these are rubberized. It's very easy to grip and get a hold of what it is you want to adjust. You have the heated seats, heated steering wheels. You don't have cooled seats or ventilated seats in this car, which I think for $96,000, I definitely think that you should have cooled seats in this Wrangler, but you don't get that here. Further in the middle, you do have the fan speed and where you want, if you want to climb it on and off. You also have where you want the air to come out from, and very easy to use, and the same settings over here for the passenger side. You do have the mute button down here. The exhaust button, as you can see, I have that on now, and now it's off. It gets a lot more bassy when you have it on. I really like how this sounds when you have this on. And then you have the traction control, the hazards, parking sensors, hill descent control, and if you want, you can just turn the entire screen off by clicking this button at the very far end. Now moving further down, you have all the connectivity you're ever going to need. You have a 12-volt cigarette outlet. These are the window controls. Since you can remove the doors, it will be very inconvenient to have the window switches on the doors themselves, so they're located right here, as you can see. And here's the media connections: aux outlet, and you have USB-C, USB. And further down, you do have the front and rear locker in this red anodized setting down here, framing. I think it looks really cool to have that here. You have the off-road plus button and the sway bar disconnect down here, and a bunch of auxiliary buttons, so you can hook up whatever you want down here. For example, additional lighting, light bars and stuff like that that Jeep owners like to put on their vehicles and hook them up, and then you just have to turn them on and off right here. Very, very convenient. And then you have this old school switch between four-wheel high, four-wheel part-time, neutral, and four-wheel low. So you need to go into neutral on the gearbox and then switch this to whatever you want. I like to keep it in four-wheel high auto, since I'm not going seriously off-roading right here. And then I do love this little feature up here, graphic, that we have again, the same wheelies that we have on the wheels come back at the top of the gear selector. And this is a pretty normal gear selector, as you can see. We do have the rear view camera popping up when we put it in reverse. Nothing too crazy going on there. We have an old standard e-brake, old school e-brakes, 2 cup holders, and then you have this big soft armrest. And if you open this up, you get this toolbox. So inside here, let's see if I can open it with one hand and show you. You get all the tools here to remove the roof and the door, so you can disassemble basically the entire body of your Jeep using just these tools that you get in this little bag. Underneath here, you do have some more storage. Now these seats, absolutely gorgeous looking seats, and as I said, this red in combination with the exterior Earl clear coat that we have right there on the hood, you can see, looks so good, this combination. Then you have Rubicon 392 embroidered in the seat itself, in the backrest. Nothing too crazy about the design about these seats, but they do have some proper bolstering, and of course they are all power adjustable. So now, moving on to the steering wheel, 8-speed automatic, and you do get paddles with this 392. I've used the paddles, but you know, this is not a car that I specifically enjoy, you know, going into manual mode with, because I just think it doesn't really make that much sense. I just rather have it in automatic and cruise around. But if you want to, you still have the paddles, and they are, as you can see, pretty small. They're not the largest paddles I've ever seen in my life, but the steering wheel itself, very easy to figure out what it is. Here you have all the controls for the center display right there, so we can go through. You have a bunch of different settings here, so much information that you can go through and customize just as you want. You have coolant, trans temp, oil temp. You also have the settings if you want to turn on and off the adaptive cruise control. And here you can see my average MPG, 14.4. that is pretty similar to what I get. I think I get around 16 in my Ram Rebel with the 35s on. So it's not, I'm not, you know, not used to seeing these numbers, and I honestly don't think it's too bad for a 6.4 liter V8 that we have up front. So there, this is, again, I do love this integration with the analog gauges, the tachometer, speedometer with the screen in the middle, and this integration of the infotainment screen. Just beautifully done. On the side here, you do have the controls for the light settings. And let's open this door so I can show you this more clearly. You also have a Jeep Gladiator here and a Wrangler stamped into this piece of plastic. I do love what Jeep is doing with their cars these days, and you can see that on the windshield right there in the corner, you do have another one of these Willys icons at the bottom, kind of climbing up the A-pillar, looking very cool. And this being a Wrangler, of course, you do have a proper sized glove box here. Actually, it's pretty small because you do have a speaker integrated there. Again, the doors are removable, so you want to have everything that you normally fit on the doors that now needs to be fitted on the dash itself. So that includes the speakers. You have a grab handle here for when you take your passengers off-road and they need to hold on. And I also like that we have the red stitching with the soft touch material up here in the center. We talked about the front end of the interior. Let's jump into the rear seats, the passenger seats. Let's see if I can fit behind my own driver position. You can see that the rear doors are pretty small when it comes to the comparison to the front doors. So let's jump in here and let's see what this is all about. I do believe that I'm not going to have any problems whatsoever fitting back here, and I am completely right about that. So here you have the vents that folds up like this. In the middle you have the window switches control, and you have some connectivity here with a couple of USB ports, and you have a house outlet down here if you want to plug in a vacuum or something like that. And if we fold down the center portion of the seats, we are going to find ourselves, of course, 2 cup holders here and a pocket to maybe house your phone, just have your phone stand up like that. Pretty convenient. It folds down the whole thing. Even the headrest folds down. Pretty interesting integration of the cup holders. And as you can see back here, we still have this open view of the sky up here that goes all the way to the front end, looking fantastic. This again is probably the only sunroof that I really like and that I would probably use a lot on hot summer's days. Overall, I love this machine because in 2024, it's not very common to have these type of vehicles going into production. A 6.4 liter V8 naturally aspirated in a Jeep Wrangler, 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. It just makes for a very special car, and I think that's one of the reasons why you have to pay a premium for cars like this today. That is not hybrids or anything like that, just pure old school V8 power. So with that said, we've talked about the exterior design, we've talked about the interior, and now of course it's time to take this beast for a drive. Alright guys, it's time to take this 392 Wrangler for a drive, and what better road than a trail like this on a sunny, beautiful day. It's 73 degrees out here up in the mountains in Colorado. You have some camp spots just scattered all around here. Talking about this ride, and obviously a $96,000 Wrangler, it needs to have the proper ride to it, and this definitely does. It just feels so smooth, and I think the Fox suspension obviously has something to do with that, but also the fact that we do have 35-inch tires from factory, and in addition to that, you have all the torque and all the power. You never feel like you're out of power in this, which you shouldn't, because as we all know, the 6.4 liter V8 handles all of that for you, and it's a proper off-roader, and that's what I like about Jeep Wranglers. They've stuck to their core identity for all these years, and that means keeping it basic, keeping it industrial and functional, and that comes down even to the styling. And I love the way Wranglers look, specifically now with this updated facelift that we have in the front end with the new grille, for example. And it's so much fun to just throw this around on trails like this. Here's a little bit of a bump. There we go. No problems whatsoever, obviously. That exhaust note is just fantastic. One thing I don't understand though with this driving position or driving situation is how come we don't have a dead pedal for your left foot? My left foot is kind of like dangling right now to the side of the brake pedal, and I feel like the brake pedal also sits too much in the center, so I have to like hold my leg up when I'm at a red line. I need to hold it up. Let's stop right here. There's nothing to support my leg when I'm stepping on the brake pedal. It's a weird thing that if you drive a Wrangler, you know what I'm talking about, but normally it's just gonna rest against this shifter for the four-wheel drive system. And I wanna have a dead pedal. I also wanna have something, or maybe the brake pedal being a little bit closer to the gas pedal, but those are small details. Have a look at this roof, just completely open, nobody out here, just me and this 392 Wrangler having a blast. Cars like this, as I said, you need to pay a premium for them because they're very rare, and manufacturers are moving away from this type of drivetrain, unfortunately. Let's roll the windows up so you can hear me better. It's probably very windy right now. But they're moving away from these type of packages, and what that means is that I do believe that these type of cars, as long as you take care of them, are going to hold their value very, very well, moving into this new era of hybrids and EVs. because there are always gonna be people who want the old school feel, and this is, when you step on it here, this is the sound of 1960s America with this V8 that we have. So now we're going on to a more flatter road. It just sounds so good. So we have the very cool styling, the traditional styling of the Wrangler on the exterior. And then, of course, new for 2024, we have this gorgeous interior now as well. So I think it's the complete package. And if you're not scared about the fuel economy and the pricing, I mean, it's a pretty special vehicle to own. And again, something that is definitely not going to be around for long. Probably, I would assume just a couple of more model years of this, and it will probably be gone forever, and in comes more hybrids and electric vehicles. For me personally, nothing beats the sound of a big V8. It just never gets old, and specifically when you have it be 6.4 liters. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.